But anyways, I'm gonna let the real star of the show take over and dip out. So y'all have fun and enjoy, and there's that from here.
Thank you.
Are you okay?
Hi, Chef. We are just waiting for a few more participants, so I was going to give them just a few more minutes.
Okay. That's fine. Just let me know when you're ready.
Okay, I will do it.
Do you have any questions so far about the material that we gave y'all or anything? The way the format's going to kind of go, and I'm sure if everybody was going to be set up ready for a demonstration as far as their mise en place or their prep. So this could be a demo cooking class. But those that do have their stuff ready to go, you can follow along with me. But mainly it's just take notes, ask a lot of questions, and then I'll send more recipes over when we're through with all of this. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's perfect. That's great. I think a few of them have already done all the chopping and are excited to cook along with you. So,
Cool.
Some junior cookers, junior chefs.
I know if I go a little too fast, just tell me to slow down. But for the most part, once everything is ready and all your mise en place is ready to go, you can go pretty quickly from there.
Okay, great. Well, let's just give a few more minutes. We're missing probably a handful of people, so.
Sounds good. Just let me know when you're ready.
Thank you.
This is she's going to mute everybody.
Martin, can you hear us? I don't know. Well,
Everything's good.
I don't know. Okay, y'all. Well, it's 3:05, so I'm going to go ahead and introduce y'all to Chef Joe walking in the video. There he is. And thank you to everyone for joining us for our first inaugural virtual cooking class. I don't know if y'all been down to Pier 6 yet, but it is beautiful, and I'm so excited to have Chef Joe. So thank you so much for taking an hour of your time to be with us today. Chef was the executive chef in Pearland at Killen Steakhouse, as well as Brennan's in Houston. So we are in good hands today, and we'll be cooking alongside him with our Prestige Oysters. And like he said, if y'all have any questions or if he goes too fast, just go ahead and call out. But if you want to put yourselves on mute, that would be helpful. But otherwise, Chef Joe, I'll let you take over.
Sounds good, guys. All right, so we're going to do 2 oyster dishes today. The first one we're going to start off with is going to be called our Oysters Vienna. And all Oysters Vienna is, it's named after a street in New Orleans that consists of shrimp and mushrooms. So this is more of like a cheese, cheesy little creamy roasted oyster. And I'll show you how to do that one first. And while that one's baking, we're going to go over here and I'm going to show you how to do something different with this one. This one's going to be like a fried oyster appetizer. The funny thing or the cool thing about this fried oyster appetizer dish is I took this to the Best Bites Rodeo. There's like a little seafood competition that we do amongst us chefs. And out of 200 or so restaurants, I placed first place in this appetizer. So I'll show you all how to make that. Super simple, but there's a lot of flavor that's going on behind it. Okay, so that dish is going to be crispy fried, Prestige Oysters. And I'm going to toss in a little bit of some Crystal hot sauce, almost like a buffalo style fried oyster wrap. And then I'm going to make what's called a Pickled Okra chow chow, which is just like an okra relish, like a southern condiment that pairs with it. And then as the base of the oyster, I'm going to do a pepper jelly sauce. It's going to have some bell peppers, different types of bell peppers, chili flakes, jalapenos, a little thing on the beer to add a little body to the sauce. I have some white distilled vinegar, and then I also have some taro syrup. So that one's going to be a fun little appetizer that we're going to do. All right, any questions so far? Okay. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get started on the oysters being built. That's the first appetizer that we're going to do. So if you have a recipe, great. If not, I'm going to be explaining what I'm putting into the pot. So what I like about this dish, it's a one-pot dish, right? All you really need is your pot and your oysters. Okay, I know some of them already. If that's the case, we can use like maybe a small little vessel, a muffin pan, or if you get your hands on some oysters in a shell, you can roast them off in the shell. But if you don't have that, like I said, get like a muffin pan, throw your oysters in there already, and then we will go ahead and start making the sauce. Okay, I'll let everybody get a moment to get situated, and I'll start going. All right, so the first thing that I'm going to add to this pot, I don't know if everybody can see, is I'm just going to use a little bit of some grapeseed oil. Okay, just going to use about a tablespoon and a half. And why I like to use grapeseed oil has a high smoke point, and it's a neutral flavor oil. Okay, so once it starts to smoke, I'm going to throw in some garlic. A lot of people are scared to add garlic in the beginning. They're scared it's going to burn. But I like to start off with garlic because I like to toast it. And by the time you add all your other ingredients, your pan starts to cool down a little bit. All right, so I added some garlic. I added in my onions. I'm going to add some celery and green bell peppers that I put all in one container. Now in Creole Cajun cooking, that is called the Holy Trinity. All right, onions, bell peppers, celery is called the Holy Trinity. This is a New Orleans dish, oysters being built, so we're cooking with the Holy Trinity, okay? So again, all I have in my pot right now is some garlic and some Holy Trinity. I'm gonna let that go a little bit. I'm gonna add some salt and pepper. I'm gonna step out of frame. I got a pinch of salt and a pinch of pepper. I like to season my vegetables in the beginning because salt and pepper always draws out moisture from your vegetables, okay? Once that starts to sweat down a little bit, I'm gonna add in some chopped mushrooms. So I took my mushrooms, I chopped them up. I'm gonna add those in there and let that cook just a little longer. You got any questions so far?
Okay, so chef, I do. I think are you making oysters Bienville?
I'm making oysters Bienville, yes.
Okay, so I think there might be confusion because that was what you were gonna cook, and then I think maybe there was a change of mind, so we got two different recipes, the hot pepper relish and the chow chow, and so, which is next. And so this might be more of just a demonstration for everybody, so I think maybe that will help kind of clear up some of the confusion.
Oh, okay. All right, yeah. Yeah, so I told Tara we're going to do 2 oyster dishes. She might not have submitted the oyster Bienville one. If that's not the case, I'll give you all the recipe, and then you can, as long as you're seeing the different It's pretty simple. It all goes into a pot, and then you can take that recipe and you can make it at home.
Perfect. So I think, yeah, so we're gonna keep watching you do this one, and then I think everyone can join you on the hot pepper chow chow oyster dish.
No problem. Absolutely.
Mine,
All right. All right. So in here, I guess it is going to be kind of hard to follow along, but I have some bell peppers, onions, celery, and mushrooms. I let that cook. Again, I'm going to give you recipes for all this, and I'm going to add in some chopped up shrimp. Okay. So this is a shrimp and mushroom roasted oyster. Once I add my chopped shrimp, I'm going to use some Creole seasoning of your choice. I'm using Paul Perdone's Black Magic Blackened Seasoning, and you can find that at H-E-B or any grocery store, Kroger, Randall should all have it. I bought mine at H-E-B. So I'm just going to let the shrimp cook for about 2 minutes here. All right. Once that shrimp starts to cook, I'm going to add in just a little bit of all-purpose flour. So what's going to happen is naturally going to start forming a roux. It's going to be your thickening agent that helps when you add your liquid to it. It's going to thicken up your dish, okay? So I'm just going to drizzle about a tablespoon of flour. Stir that up. So now, once I start to add my liquid, which is going to be my white wine, it's going to start to thicken up, okay? Because that flour acts as a thickening agent. So I'm going to add about a half a cup of white wine. All right, I don't know if y'all can see that, but it started to thicken up. I'm going to add a little bit of some chicken stock, about the same, about a half a cup. Stir that in. And I'm going to add just some milk, whole milk. And they're all equal parts, half a cup, and a half a cup. So half a cup of wine, half a cup of chicken stock, and half a cup of milk. So the recipe that I'm making is going to be for a smaller batch. It'll do about, I would say about 6 roasted oysters. But the recipe that I'll give you is going to be a little bit bigger, where you can feed up to 12. You can do 12 roasted oysters if you'd like. All right. This is starting to thicken up, starting to form a sauce. It almost looks like a oyster chowder, if you will. That's the consistency that I'm kind of looking for. Then I'm going to add in some Parmesan cheese. And the Parmesan cheese is going to add some salinity to it. And it's also going to add some flavor. And it's also going to thicken it up at the same time as well. More. Who doesn't like cheese, right? A little bit like fondue dip at this point. Very cheesy, a lot of mushrooms, some chopped up shrimp. And then just for a little bit of some brightness, I'm going to add in some chopped parsley to it. And then finish it off with some green onions. And then I'm going to put just a touch of lemon juice to add some acidity to it. About a tablespoon. Then we're gonna let this cool. Now that's it. That's all it is to that dish right there. A lot of ingredients, but it's full of flavor and super simple to do. The hardest part is to get all your mise en place together, right? It's getting all these little vegetables cut. That is the hardest part of this whole dish. But once it's all there, and you throw it all in the pot, it's as simple as it can be. All right, so I'm gonna let this cool down. Before I let that cool, I'm gonna taste it. Make sure the seasoning's right. Pepper. I'm gonna season with just a little bit more Creole seasoning, okay? That's it. All right, so I like to let this cool on a sheet tray. All right, we're gonna pop this in the fridge and let it cool down. All right, so while we're waiting on that to cool, we're gonna get started on our second oyster appetizer. That's the one you all have recipes for. That is our hot oyster is what the title of this dish is. And the first thing that we're gonna make for this hot oyster is gonna be our 5-pepper jelly sauce. I always like to start off with things that take the longest to make. And then, that's how I progress these dishes, right? So I started off with the V&O and I showed you guys this demonstration because I want that to cool down. That needs to cool, then we're gonna roast that. Hopefully by the time we finish this appetizer, it will all be in sync together. So what's gonna take the longest part of this dish is gonna be our pepper jelly sauce. Everything else we just put together and fry the oysters, okay? All right, so the first thing that we're gonna do, you can follow along with this one, is, let me grab another spoon, one second. All right, first thing we're gonna do, we're gonna make our syrup. And to make that, we're gonna add in some of our light Caro syrup. All right. And white distilled vinegar. Because for a good pepper jelly, you're gonna need some sweetness that's balanced with some acidity. So your acidity is your vinegar, your Caro syrup will be your sweetness. You can use agave, but this will start to reduce down. Then again, just for a little bit of some body, whatever beer you have a choice, I'm using St. Arnold's. All right, and it's gonna look real loose at this point, but I'm gonna put my flame on high and it's gonna reduce down into a syrup. All right, so once that starts to reduce and form a syrup, we're gonna cut it off the heat. Then we're just gonna add in our green bell peppers, our red peppers, our yellow bell peppers, and our chili flakes. And then we're just gonna let that finish in there. So what's gonna happen, once you add in all those peppers, all the water that comes out of those peppers is gonna soften up your sauce. Once it cools back down, it's gonna form into a jelly, okay? So we're gonna let that reduce down. The next step for this appetizer dish, while that's reducing, is I'll talk about the chocolate. Yes.
Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you. We just had someone jump on and they were asking how far behind they were, and I said they weren't. Can you just kind of quickly or go over what you just did to make the syrup for them?
Sure.
Maybe slow down just a touch.
For the syrup, I added the first 3 ingredients. We're going to be your light Caro syrup. I added a little bit of white vinegar, and then just some St. Arnold's beer. Okay, you can use whatever beer you have of choice. You can leave the beer out. You don't have to put the beer in. The beer is going to add. So I like to cook with sweetness, acidity, and I like a little bit of bitterness. It all kind of balances the palate. And the beer is going to add bitterness to this sauce. So add those first 3 ingredients. We're going to let it cook down. That's what's in here right now. Pier syrup, beer, and vinegar. We're going to reduce that down to it forms almost like a syrup. It should be able to coat the back of a spoon. Once that happens, we're going to add in all of our peppers and just kind of pull it off the heat at that point, right? And be careful because your sauce will boil over if you don't keep an eye on it. It'll boil over, and you don't want to make a mess. Okay. So you want me to back up further than that, or are we good with that?
I think that's good, and I think we even maybe asked for a little bit more time. So hold on, I think people are saucing.
All right. Well, while we're saucing with that, I'm going to take a few of these oysters that we did earlier, or that mix. I'm going to pull that back out, and because this is going to take a few minutes to kind of reduce down. While that's reducing, I'm going to take some of these oysters that I have already shucked, and I'm going to put the topping on there, the Bienville topping that we did earlier. Okay. So let me grab that out of the fridge. I had it cooling down. This is what it looks like whenever I was finished with it. It's the shrimp and mushroom mixture. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to top each one with this sauce. Make sure you put a fair amount of it on. Okay, like that. Then I'm going to top that with just some Louisiana Creole seasoning. Then I have some Japanese panko breadcrumbs. You can use Italian breadcrumbs. I'm using panko. It's a little coarser than your Italian. Italian is a little bit more fine. It's grounded more, and it also has seasoning than the Italian. But the panko is just super neutral. And just panko breadcrumbs, just like that. And then I'm going to pop that into an oven that I have super hot. I'm just going to look for the oysters to bubble, so maybe about 15 to 20 minutes. I have my oven set to about 400 degrees. And if you have a grill at home or a char grill going with charcoal, you throw your oysters right onto the grill and then wait for them to bubble at the bottom. And then as soon as they start to bubble from the bottom, you start to get a little bit of color on the top, and you pull up. Again, that'll take about 20 minutes to do at home on the grill as well. All right, so got that going. My sauce is reducing. I'm gonna let that reduce, and while that reduces down, we're gonna start on our chow chow. When the chow chow is finished, we're gonna fry some oysters. By the time we fry oysters, my sauce should be complete. All right, you following along? All right. So for my chow chow, I talked about it's just a southern relish. I've done this where I topped it with crab meat and just some crab and remoulade sauce. Topped this chow chow with fried green tomatoes, another appetizer that I've done with it. But I find that it pairs really well with these crispy fried oysters, so that's why I decided we're going to go with this one. So we're going to start off with some chopped up okra, that is pickled okra. You can find spicy pickled okra or mild. I like to eat spicy sometimes, but this one's mild pickled okra. I have some roasted peppers that I've roasted over some the open fire until the peppers start to blister and started to turn dark on the outside. I wrap that with plastic wrap or put it in a closed container. And then what happens is the peppers start to sweat, and then it's easy to peel off the skin at that point. And then you just pull off the skin, and then I just dice them up. All right. I have some chopped red onions. Just gonna throw that into the bowl. Tomatillos, little South American green tomato. Cane vinegar or apple cider vinegar, because I know cane is a Louisiana product, it's a Steve's product, and it's a little harder to find. in the grocery store. But you can substitute apple cider vinegar if you can't find it, or any vinegar of your choice. I like to use one that has a little bit of some sweetness to it, kind of balance everything out so it's not super tart. And then I'll put some Creole mustard and some salt and pepper. So it should be super bright, super colorful. And again, it's just a nice relish to pour over the top. The longer you let this sit, the more flavor comes out of it. All right. Put it in a jar, put it in the fridge, pull it out whenever you would like to, top other things with it. All right. Let's give it a taste. I think that's it. Doesn't need anything else. So that was super simple, right? All right, so I got my chow chow, got our pepper jelly. I'm just gonna check the consistency of it. It needs to go a little longer. While that's going, we're gonna take some of these oysters and we're gonna fry them up. All right, so you have some that already been shucked. Mine still in the shell. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take, I have some cornmeal and corn flour here, or you can just buy some, like the Zatarain's fish fry or shrimp fry, will work fine as well. But this is just cornmeal and corn flour, equal parts. Then I'm putting just a little bit of some blackened seasoning in it. And I'm just gonna stir this up a little bit. Okay. I have my fryer here. My fryer is set to 370. That's as hot as this little one goes. But about 350 to 360 is fine. All right. So now I'm going to take these oysters out the shell. I'm just going to put them right into our cornmeal corn flour. But I'm not going to throw these shells away because I'm going to plate back into the shell. I know y'all don't have shells at home, so you can plate right onto the plate. But I'm going to put it back into the shell. I'm going to save these. But first, I'm going to rinse them out. I got a friend over here that's going to rinse that for me. All right, so my pepper jelly sauce. Rinse those oyster shells out for me, please. My pepper jelly sauce is about ready. It starts to look a little bit like maple syrup a little bit. And I can tell by the bubbles and by the way the bubbles are boiling, if it's thick. The larger the bubbles form, the thicker this syrup is getting, right? So now I put that back in the syrup. I stir it a little bit. I'm just going to add in some bell peppers, the green bell peppers. Going to add in the red bell peppers, yellow. There's a lot of color here, so I use all these peppers. I'll use one pepper if you really wanted to, but food looks
Hi,
good.
Chef. It looks like we have a question about the ingredients for the fried oysters. You mentioned some cornmeal. What else did you use?
Cornmeal and corn flour.
Cornmeal and corn flour.
Equal parts. And then I put my blackened seasoning, the paprika blackened seasoning. I seasoned it with that. So about a tablespoon. I would say about a cup of cornmeal, a cup of corn flour, about a tablespoon of blackened seasoning. Or like I said, you can get the fish fry that's already seasoned for you. That works just as well. That has some cornstarch in there that helps your oysters become crispy as well. So they're already, the stuff that's already blended, there's nothing wrong with using that as well. But it's a lot easier, and it also has flavor in it as well. All right, so I have some oysters that are already shucked. I'm going to put these down in my pan because, like I said, this is going to be my plating vessel that I'm going to use. All right, we're going to let these oysters. I'm just going to dredge them into this cornmeal corn flour. And then we're gonna toss them into the fryer, all right? Oysters don't need a whole lot of time to cook. I'm just looking for, about 2 minutes into the fryer until they become nice and crispy. Wash my hands. You got any questions so far, guys? All right. So again, pepper jelly sauce is done. All my peppers are in there. Nice and colorful. I don't know if y'all can see that. And again, it is a little loose right now because it's still super hot. But as it starts to cool, you let it sit at room temperature, it's going to really start to form like a jelly sauce, okay? Oysters are going. I'm going to check on my Oysters Vienna that I did earlier. They should be about ready as well. Oh, it looks perfect. You want to see that? All right. That's the Oysters Vienna. Sorry, guys, I'm trying to find some tongs. All right. Let that cool down a little bit. Oysters are golden brown, nice and crispy. Pull them out of the fryer, and I'm going to toss them to a bowl. I'm going to add a little bit more of our Creole seasoning. Then I'm going to hit it with some Crystal hot sauce. Just right from the bottle. Give that a nice little toss. Okay, so they're nice and coated. All right, so the first step in plating this hot oyster dish, in the shell or on the plate, if you have a plate in front of you, you put it on the plate. Just gonna put a little bit of this pepper jelly sauce down. Okay. I'm going to take these oysters, I have 4 shells here. Take these oysters and set it right on top of the jelly sauce. Then I'm going to take my chow chow. I'm going to put that right over the top of each oyster. Then I'm going to finish with some chopped parsley that I had from earlier. That's it. All right, I don't know if y'all can see that. That's the oyster dish, the hot oyster. And then the next one is the Oysters Vienna. Throw some parsley over the top. Just going to set that on some rock salt. That's the Oysters Vienna. All right, guys. Those are our 2 oysters. Have any questions?
That looks so good. On the oysters Vienna, you said it's 400 in the oven?
Yes.
And the grill, you said?
I set my oven at 400 degrees, and I let it, cook for about 15, 20 minutes. Once you start to see the base, the oysters at the very bottom start to bubble, and they're cooking from the bottom, and you're ready to go.
And then you said it changes colors at the top. What is that gonna look like?
What's that? It's gonna look golden brown you'll start to see some caramelization on the top of the oyster. You know, because I added some panko breadcrumbs. So as soon as those panko breadcrumbs start to crisp over the top, the bubbling starts to happen down at the bottom, you're good to go.
Is that the same thing if you do it on the grill?
On the grill, it's gonna bubble, it's gonna cook from the bottom a lot faster. And it won't caramelize on the top as much, but your heat source is from the bottom, and it's gonna be almost very similar. As
Okay,
long as you start to see it bubble from the bottom, you know that your food is cooked inside.
okay. Oh my gosh. Do you have any other questions? I'm so excited. I want to be there next time with you. Is everyone still cooking or are you already finished?
What's that?
Well, I was just gonna see if everyone's finished. I wanted to see everyone's finished products.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Oh, hold on, Nancy, you're muted. Oh, there.
Now, I said, we're still cooking.
Oh, I see your sous chef is drinking back there, ma'am.
Yeah, anything goes better with wine.
Okay. And it looks like Betty and Jim are still cooking.
Yes, my peppers are not tender yet, but I do have my
But-
chow, so I don't know if you
Chow.
can see that. So it's all done.
Ooh, yum.
And I'll do the oysters later. We're looking forward to it.
Can you, I was gonna ask, because I didn't know they were gonna be fried. Can you do them just roasted or is it only like, is that chow chow for fried?
You can do them pan fried in a skillet, right? You can get a little bit of some oil down and just kind of sear them on both sides. You know, if you don't have cornmeal and you have all-purpose flour works just fine as well. Season it up, dredge them in flour, get a skillet with some oil in it, about a 1/4 inch up, and then just turn it on medium-high heat, drop them in there, flip them over, and then yeah, because if you really want that hot sauce to kind of coat it, to stick to it, right? If you roast them, you might not get the same effect texture-wise, because when you bite in there, you want it to be a little crispy when you get in there, and it's almost like hot wings, but for oysters. So I think that's right.
Is that your own recipe? Is that something you made from scratch?
Yeah, this one is my own recipe. Just pull the ingredients that I've done in the past, right? You know, chow chow, like I said, I've done some other applications, but then, you know, just pulling some ingredients from here and there and put this dish together. Like I said, I did this for the Best Fight rodeo last year, not last year, because it was last year. It was right before COVID happened, and I won with this one. So.
Oh man, and you're sharing it with us. This is so exclusive, everybody.
So it's pretty neat, absolutely.
Oh, well, great. Well, thank you so much for being with us today. We really appreciate your time. And if nobody has any questions, like I said, I'm recording this, and so I'll get the full recipes from Chef Joe, and I'll send the recipes as well as the recording around, so y'all will have him to cook with whenever you want.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Thank you, Chef
Thank
Joe.
you.
Bye.
Bye. Y'all take care.
Bye.